What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the show, and today I've got something very different but very, very cool for you. I was able to sit down with the lead engineer for the RevMax platform at Harley Davidson and get all of the sordid details on the building of the Pan America. That is correct. I was flown out by Harley Davidson to get on ADV Fest in April, and we were able to sit down with Kyle Wick, the lead engineer for the RevMax platform, and boy oh boy, did I get some cool details, and all of that is gonna be coming in just a second. But before we dive in, I do wanna let you know two things. First of all, I ended up losing all of my GoPro footage. I don't know what happened. Usually I'm super organized about it. I ended up losing it all. Oh well. But luckily I have a plethora of Pan America footage floating around. And secondly, we talked for a long time. Seriously, I probably cut out a good 15 minutes of the stuff that went through the first edit, and you guys are seeing the second. So what I've done is I've taken the full-length interview and it's up on the Patreon. If you want to check that out, all the links are down in the description below. You can get yourself signed up. That's the best way to support the channel, and you'll be able to see the full-length interview. It's like half an hour. So all of that is in the description down below. However, I have kept basically all of the really good stuff so that you guys could see it here on YouTube. Let's dive on in. Take it away, Kyle.
I'm Kyle Wick. I'm the chief engineer for the RevMax motorcycle platform, which includes the Pan America motorcycle. I had two different roles with the Pan Am. I was part of the early development in the earlier stages, but more so understanding everything that was going on to develop the bike as I worked to help develop other motorcycles alongside of it. Then I stepped away for a little while, helped with another program, and then came back to this platform and now own the entire platform, RevMax platform that we have today. Obviously, Harley Davidson's been around for a long time. We're coming up on 120 years here this year. You have to evolve or you die, and this is part of us evolving as a company. So when we developed this bike, it was really about understanding the customers first and really what they're after, and then how do we connect that to the heritage that we have. And that led us to what we have today. And yeah, it's designed to go off-road for sure, but it's a hell of an on-road bike too, and that's where even more of our lineage stands. So the fact that we can capture two pieces of our history in one motorcycle here, it's pretty special.
Now, something you might not know about your old pal Spite is I spent several years in mechanical engineering back in the day. Don't get too excited. I got a C in statics and I failed out of thermodynamics, but the process still fascinates me, and I gotta know how many eggs got broke to make this omelet right here.
Lots of challenges here. The largest one is the fact that it's a different customer than we have traditionally gone after. You know, then secondary challenges that come after that, once you really understand the customer and what they're after. Lightweight was a big challenge. Most people know traditionally Harley Davidson motorcycles are not lightweight. This certainly is, and so that presented a different challenge that we don't necessarily tackle the same way. But the way we approach the other motorcycles in our portfolio it's a different approach. The customer has different expectations. This is a different segment.
One of the biggest advancements on this motorcycle is the ride height device. If you're a MotoGP fan, you've heard about these devices that lower the ride height on the bike to lengthen the wheelbase to allow racers to power out of a corner, but that's on a racetrack. This was the first bike that hit the streets with that built in.
This is unique. We know that this is a well-established market with a lot of very competent players in it already. And it's one thing just to go and make another motorcycle and put it in there, but you've got to do it in a unique way. That ride height adjustment was one way that we could make the product unique. It was a challenge to develop that, but it was one we knew we needed to take on. It was overwhelmingly positive. I think people don't quite know what it is when they first hear about it, maybe a little skeptical as to what it actually does. And once they understand what it's doing and they see it and it's easy to see, and then especially when they go and ride the motorcycle and you feel it, you go, wow, where has this been all my time.
Now, while we're on the subject of technology, there's one part in here that Harley was very much late to the game on. Stressed member frames have been the industry standard for lightweight performance motorcycles for years. They work by using the engine as a stressed member, eliminating the need for heavy cradle frames. In general, bikes with stressed member frames handle better, they're lighter, but on an ADV bike, they leave the engine unguarded, and that's the first point of contact with the ground.
So now the engine isn't just an engine to deliver power, it's also an engine to deliver structure to the motorcycle. By doing that, you can really optimize the weight of the motorcycle. You can optimize the packaging of it. You can slim it down. So there's all these benefits that come from doing that. Now, obviously, the powertrain has got to be designed in a different way to be able to handle that. But that's the big positive is you don't have to duplicate parts on a motorcycle to get the end result. You really optimize it. The downside is like I said, the powertrain's got to become something else. So that's only a downside in the development of it. Once you have it, it's all upside to it. So, we talk about challenges. That was another challenge in the development of this motorcycle, this platform.
So I've got some questions about the design on the bike. There's two things that I look at on the Pan America and the stock trim, and I wonder why it was done like that. So first and foremost is the handguards. So the handguards pop right off. As like an adventure rider, I would just have preferred some solid bark busters.
I think this is an area where we get feedback from people. We've heard that from customers, some that say the same thing that you say, others who like the fact that they break away a little more easily, less likely to break them. That's why they are like they are. And it's a little bit of a fine balance of trying to figure out exactly how break-proof to make them.
Right.
Versus how much do you want to just let them pop off real easily.
And then the second one, I didn't notice this until I was riding the stock Pan America, the one that just rolled. It was at a local dealership. They gave me a demo. I looked at the skid plate and the cooler for the rectifier was sticking right out the front.
Yep. Right
behind the front tire. And literally I didn't realize it until I had already taken it off road and there was some mud sitting on it. And I guess I'm just wondering, why is that there?
First of all, keeping components like that are down there it's a balance of packaging everything on the motorcycle, and then you look at the main component that's down there is a battery. It's very heavy.
Yeah.
And so keeping that battery down low on the motorcycle helps us keep a good low center of gravity, which helps out in riding like we're doing out here, keep the bike from feeling top heavy. And then when you put the battery down there, there's other key electrical components that you want to optimize their location, so you're running wires all over the bike and doing things like that. And that, that's really why that component's there. That's the why. I can guarantee you that we test it, we validate it, and even though you see the mud getting there and you wonder why it's there, it's going to hold up.
This one's just for fun. BMW R1250 GS, KTM Super Adventure, the 1290, and the Ducati Multistrada. In the break room, I imagine you guys have a dartboard. What bike is on the dartboard that you just throw darts at all day? What was the one that you were dying to take down a peg?
I don't think that there's a one bike answer to that. Each of the bikes, as you know, they have their own unique characteristic, and much like they have their own unique characteristics, we have ours with Pan America. That's exactly what we wanted. We wanted ours to have its unique characteristic. So it's not so much that we throw darts at anyone. It's more that we understand what they're all doing. We benchmark the competitors. We look at everything that they're doing. We don't guess at it, we look at it. It's very well thought out. We research it and we look at it and we make decisions about how do we want our motorcycle to work. It's not so much about who do we want to be like, it's how do we want our bike to be.
Okay, so we've been having a good time goofing around out here, but let's be real, this bike isn't perfect because there's no such thing. The Pan America had its fair share of teething problems, from the story of the father and son that took their Pan Am out on the Tat and it broke down. Harley did replace that motor, by the way, to weird issues with the starter and the coils interfering with the electronics, to software patches and more. Heck, I've even had a rental bike stall out and refuse to restart unless I flip the switch on and off a bunch, which put the bike into its limp mode. Time for some tough questions.
How would you assuage people's concerns when it comes to the reliability of the new platform?
I think it's an easy answer to that. We stand behind our motorcycles. We're committed to them. If there are issues, if customers have problems, we'll get it fixed. And huge advantage that we have in the marketplace is we have a massive dealer network, bigger than everybody else, over 600 dealers in the US. The ability for a customer, if they have an issue, to go to a dealer, get it fixed, that is a really big advantage that Harley Davidson presents to the customer. Now, it is a new bike, and so people having question marks about reliability, we totally understand that. We wouldn't expect everybody just to 100% believe that everything will be perfect, and we haven't been perfect. There's no two ways about that, but we'll fix it. We'll take care of it. We'll get it right.
So were there any reported problems that were kind of a surprise, like you were, damn, I'm pretty sure we tested the crap out of that, and then it got out here in the middle of nowhere and somebody broke it somehow?
Maybe the easy answer to that is we never put something out that we know is going to have a problem.
Right.
We don't do it. So anything that goes on once we send bikes out into the market really wasn't what we expected. What's difficult sometimes is you get a few people that talk about an issue and it sounds like it's happening on every bike, and I can guarantee it's not.
Yeah.
And what you don't hear a lot of are all the other people that don't have that issue. We'll take care of it. We'll fix it. You get to go into your dealership. They'll get it figured out. They work with the motor company. The dealer works with the motor company if they can't figure it out, and we help them along the way too. So it's, we got your back.
So we've talked about the past a lot, but now it's time to look into the future.
I feel like we've been talking for a minute. We built a good rapport. I feel like you can open up to me here. What's coming down the pipe next? What are some cool projects? Maybe Pan America that's maybe with a little smaller engine, kind of rhymes with Schmein, Schmeven, Schmeiv, and maybe a motorcycle nicknamed after a New York borough, perhaps.
Well, we never comment on future products, so
I tried, guys.
I'm sure you're not surprised.
Every single time I come out, I pester these guys about it. They won't tell me anything.
So I can't talk about that. I'll just reiterate, we're always in development. We never stop doing work. It may not always be exactly what people are looking for. It may not always be exactly when people want it. A lot of people want something now. A lot of people want things that rhyme with words, like you said. We don't always do. Everybody's got a different opinion about what they're looking for, and I'll just tell you, we listen, but we have to find the right things that are right for the business as well as right for the customers. And it's a competitive customer space here, so just going and doing everything all at once everywhere, not a very good business decision. So we balance that every day.
All jokes aside though, what are some of the lessons that Harley Davidson, the folks building bikes, dealers, what are some of the lessons learned from bikes like the Pan America, the Nightster 975, Sportster S, that are informing what's going on, not necessarily with perhaps future projects dealing with RevMax, but also stuff in the M8 department? Because I imagine it's not like, you're siloed off in RevMax and everybody else is M8 and you guys don't talk. I imagine you're working together on a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, we absolutely work together on a lot of things. I think the biggest thing it's allowed us to do is really connect with another customer voice and another customer segment. And much like we talked about before, this bike isn't necessarily designed for our core customer that's riding an electric glide, but you'd be surprised how many electric glide riders would like to get into riding off-road.
Yeah.
And will buy this bike as a second bike for them. And they can tour on it, they can go off-road on it, and they can choose which bike they want to ride. So by reaching different customers we don't have today, but also reaching customers that are in our pool already and hearing what they have to say, we're learning a lot, we're seeing a lot.
And speaking of those insights, I know you're not going to be able to comment specifically directly on any ongoing project, but one of the biggest things that I really respect about what happened with Pan America is you guys were very, very hardcore about making sure you were reaching desired specs for weight. I mean, I remember the pizza bet, but with the rumors swirling around about the 975, I know for a fact that those guys, if the flagship rider is the guy who's flipping through his owner's manual the middleweight ADV rider is the guy who's writing notes in the margin, making sure that he knows all the torque figures. So with that being said, how do you potentially approach one of these super hardcore segments where if you're not coming correct, these guys don't even want to think about it?
Yeah, obviously not having a product in that segment, we don't have a lot to offer to them. And like you said, it's a competitive segment there also, and people love the bikes that are there, and they're very passionate. And I say keep bringing your passion to the table as a rider. Find the right product for you. If it isn't ours, that's okay. Get into the sport, do what you love doing, have fun. But what I'll do next is invite you to come over and check out the products we do have. When you're ready, we're here.
So one more question about the possible future maybe bike that is in the middleweight category. So you look at brands like KTM with their 1290 Super Adventure and the 890, 790 platform. Those have different engines, they have completely different setups, perhaps because they're targeted at different styles of rider. But it's necessitated a change in engine architecture and the frame geometry, all of that stuff. Really the only company that doesn't do that is Ducati. Would you think that the RevMax platform is versatile enough to basically get hit with a shrink ray and turn the Pan Am into a smaller, lighter bike, or does it necessitate potentially dipping your toe into a different engine archetype?
Yeah, boy, there's a lot wrapped up in that question. First thing I'll say is, if anybody doesn't realize it, our engine is like the crown jewel of our motorcycles. It is the heart and a big part of our brand, and what we bring to the table is that V-twin.
Yeah.
So going in a drastically different direction is something we wouldn't take lightly.
Yeah.
And because it really is a left turn. As much as Pan America and RevMax is a left turn to many people, that would be a really big left turn.
Yeah.
It requires a different view of how you go after the motorcycle, and that's at this point in time really doesn't fit with our brand and where we are. Mm-hmm. And I think to go there, you've got to change. You have to have a different approach with it. Our competitors are obviously doing it, and they're doing it well. Can the RevMax shrink down? Well, yeah, it can to some point.
Yeah.
We're doing the 975 on it, but at some point you do have to redesign an engine and an architecture to really resize it and have it optimized. And,
right.
And that's, we are optimized for what we're doing here. So that stuff doesn't just happen for free. There's a lot of business aspects wrapped up in your question that are, things that are hard to get into in the time that we have here. But, there's always financials and investment required and the people to do it. And so we're constantly talking about what the future is and what we may or may not do. But there are very specific aspects that put us where we are right now and will determine the future for us also.
Well, I appreciate you sitting down and bearing with me on some of these
No
and
problem,
bringing me out to ride out here. This is absolutely incredible. I freaking love coming out to...
Thanks for coming out and doing it. It's exciting, so I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and a huge shout out to the folks at Harley Davidson for putting up with my shenanigans, and I will catch you guys in the next one. See you later.